Hi, I just recorded by NFC East. So now I'm gonna do playoff predictions. I'm just gonna do the whole playoffs because I'm not gonna separate them. That's way too much work. I'm not gonna do like a 5 minute video to predict the Super Bowl winner. Too much work. Not too much work. Just kind of pointless. That is. Like I'm not gonna put. I could put the NFC and AFC championships together, but who the fuck cares? Anyway, um, you see the predictions here. The one seed on the NFC side is the Eagles, and the one seed on the Bills side is the Bills. Are the Bills. I'm not really confident in these predictions, but I think they're good enough. If that means anything. Um, yeah. So I think I was talking about it in the NFC East video that I think these matchups are a lot better than last year because a lot of the last year matchups kind of had blowouts. Bills Patriots was a blowout. Chiefs Steelers were a blowout. Eagles Bucks were not really close. Rams Cardinals was really bad. Just really piss poor play. The only good games were the Raiders Bengals game last year, and in terms of round one, and the 49ers Cowboys game, which people have mixed feelings about that game. And a lot of people call that a game ass actually, just because the ending, which really the game as a whole was probably fine, but it was just the very ending was kind of lame because it was very anticlimactic. And the Raiders Bengals game was pretty good. That was actually just a good game. It came down to the final drive. It's a fourth and goal. Had to get it there, didn't get it. But nonetheless, we're in the AFC, NFC. I didn't mean to say AFC. The predictions, playoff predictions. Um, I guess we'll do AFC first because they're over here. Um, God, this matchup is so good. I don't know. But see, that's the problem now. I think both these Colts. I'm gonna start. I think the Colts and Broncos matchup is going to be very interesting, and I'm pretty certain that the Broncos would be in terms of who is favored. I would imagine that in terms of obviously the higher seed and such, but in terms of who is actually favored, I would imagine it's Broncos, Chargers, Bengals. In terms of this side, assuming you see everything, you probably can. I should probably check, but I'm not going to. Um, fuck, I should probably check. I'm not gonna check. Um, over here, it would be probably 49ers, Bucks, and Rams. So yeah, that's probably who's actually favored. But just because you're favored doesn't mean you automatically win. Um, anyway, Broncos Colts. Very good matchup. I think it's gonna be really interesting to see how well these two older quarterbacks play. Because both of them have something to prove. Russ is kind of getting called washed. So is Matt Ryan, granted. But Colts didn't make the playoffs last year. Neither one of these teams actually did. But Colts specifically probably should have even. But they had Carson Wentz. Now they upgraded a quarterback to Matt Ryan. Um, this could be interesting to see how well Matt Ryan plays. Um, though I imagine Matt Ryan's gonna be an upgrade. It doesn't take much to be an upgrade from Carson Wentz from last year. So, and obviously Jonathan Taylor is gonna be in his third year. Right? Third year. That sounds right. Um, He's gonna be even better. The defense got much better too. Like this team is very good on paper, but I think situational things are gonna become problematic. Hey, this is all accounting for no injuries. Literally all these teams can get fucked over by one injury. Imagine Tyreek's get injured on the Miami Dolphins. It'd be incredibly mid. Bengals can actually afford a couple injuries, but if they get an injury to Burrow, shit's a wrap. Injury to Jamar is subpar, but they can manage that. Like I think there are like two teams, like okay, two or three teams that can handle injuries, and that is 49ers, Bills, and Bengals. 49ers because they're pretty much good everywhere. Like say Fred Warner gets injured, they're still okay at defense. Like their defense is still gonna be above average. It's gonna be much worse at linebacker. Uh, Imagine Debo gets injured. You still got Brandon Ayuk and friends. You know you're not pathetic at wide receiver. Um, Trey Lance, you still got Jimmy G. You know, Bengals, you get injured on the O line. It was bad last year, and you still made the Super Bowl. So, You could do it again. Jamar gets injured, you have T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. You know, shit like that. Bills, you just played the Rams without Tre'Davious White and won 31-10. That's all I gotta say. Also, I said Edmonds in the video because I was talking about why the Rams. I thought the Rams would win that game. I said Edmonds and I meant White. I didn't mean Edmonds. I don't know. I know why I said uh, Edmonds, but I had the wrong guy. I knew who I was talking about, but I said the wrong guy. But nonetheless, finally can get into the matchup. Um, which I already did kind of, but I talked about the Colts. Now we're gonna talk about the Broncos. The Broncos also have a lot to prove, but I think the Broncos are the safer pick, and that's just because the Colts have a lot of questionable things. Colts are questionable at receiver. How well your receivers are gonna play because you really only have Michael Pittman that's really good on that team. How well is your quarterback gonna play? It's Matt Ryan who hasn't been necessarily elite since since the Super Bowl run, and probably like the year after too. He was pretty elite too, but he hasn't been elite for a while. Um, is Gilmore still a lockdown corner? Is he a true right quarterback one? We're gonna see. A lot of questionable pieces, and if all these fall apart, then even if they do make the playoffs, they're probably going to smash round one. Um, Broncos on the flip side, I don't think Russ should have any questions on how good Russ still is. He was still good last year, and that was through an injury, by the way. When he was injured, he still played fine. Um, and like the only thing questionable about this team on paper is really their O line, but he's had worse O lines in Seattle. I'm sure Russ can make it work. Um, I'm pretty certain that Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton are going to be fine, and Tim Patrick. But wasn't one of them? Isn't Tim Patrick? Didn't something happen to Tim Patrick? Isn't he injured? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. Tim Patrick's out, which kind of sucks. Just for depth purposes, it sucks. You still have Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. So, but if injury happens to one of them, you're kind of in a bad situation. But I can't predict the injury, so I'm not gonna predict injuries. um, there's no purpose. Um, so yeah, we know how good the defense is, though. Unfortunately, you lost Shelby Harris, which kind of sucks. So your defense might be worse, and you lost your safe tight end. Their tight end's like it's important, but like unless you have like Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Kyle Pitts or Darren Waller, then like they're not gonna be like, oh my god, you lose your tight end, you lose the game. Those are really the only teams that like are critical to it. I think everyone else is pretty much fine if they lose their tight end. So yeah, um, who's the safer pick? Probably the Broncos. Who's my pick? I think I have to pick the Broncos, and that's just because Russ has been in the play. I mean, both of them have been in the playoffs before. Both of them have been in Super Bowls before. Um, but I think the situation here is that Russ has worked with these receivers, like bad receivers before. Matt Ryan has had Julio pretty much the his entirety of his career. The recent years he hasn't really been there. Even though while he was there, he was sub. It wasn't subpar, but he was worse because injury problems. Um, there's a reason people think he's not that good. Matt Ryan. There's a reason people think he's washed because he didn't have Julio. How well is he gonna play with a very not deep wide receiver room? Um, and I think he's gonna play fine, and I think he's gonna play fine enough to get into the playoffs and win the division. But I don't know that he's gonna play well enough to be able to beat the Russ and a very good Broncos secondary. You also have to acknowledge that Patrick Surtain's a lockdown, corner. If Michael Pittman is locked down, there is nobody else to throw to. I'm sorry, but there is not. Um, though I think it's also kind of a similar thing on the opposite side. Um, you're gonna have both these teams are gonna have to run out their run game, I think, because I think the Michael Pittman's gonna be locked down from Patrick Surtain for most of the game. But the problem is the Colts also have lockdown corners potentially. Kenny Moore is more of a slot guy, but Jerry Jeudy is also more of a slot guy. So if Kenny Moore could lock down Jerry Jeudy and Gilmore could lock down Cortland Sutton, then I think you're okay. It's like the same shit then, because while your receivers are also locked down, so are the other teams. So it's fine. So I think you have to rely on the run game, and it's a matter of which team's run game do I trust more, and that would be the Colts. Um, Especially behind a pretty good O line. I think the situation here is that, especially because how it works is Colts are at home, right? That's how that works. I think that's how that works. I'm not 100% certain how like home games work in playoffs. I think it's just the higher seed is at home. I think. I really don't know, but I think. And the Super Bowl, wherever it's predetermined. Where is the Super Bowl this year? I don't know. I actually don't know. Arizona? Arizona. Cool, I guess. Okay, anyway. Um, I think the run game is going to be very important here. And I think I'm going to have to take the Colts run game here. I don't think Matt Ryan is going to play very well here. But I think that Russ is going to have to be able to. The problem is, I trust. This matchup's really interesting. God, I'm going to look at the depth charts real quick. Problem is, Colts have Darius Leonard. That's scary. That's scary. Or DeForest Buckner. I meant DeForest Buckner. Bro, I swear I cannot say names. I always think of Shaquille Leonard. I just like mix their names. I put them together. I don't know. I knew who I was talking about. Right? I mean, it's a real guy. See, I knew who the fuck I was talking about. Oh, is it Shaquille Leonard? That's his name? Wait, is that who it is? See, I had the right guy. I was right. I think. Yeah, okay, I was right. I was right. I was very confused. Because I thought I had the right guy. Oh, wait, no, I need that open, actually. I thought I had the right guy, but then, he wasn't on the roster, so damn, I guess I had the wrong guy. But no, I didn't. The problem is, the Colts have Darius Leonard. Very scary. He is a absolute fucking stud. They also have DeForest Buckner. Absolute fucking stud. Um, their secondary is pretty promising. My only concern would be, oh, Kenny Moore's not even the starting cornerback, which is interesting. Here's a good slot guy. I mean, I imagine Kenny's still playing the slot corner, granted, but I don't know. I I think what's gonna happen is that you're gonna have to rely on your run game a lot here, and would I trust Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon to run behind a probably below average O line, or Jonathan Taylor to run behind an above average O line? And that's the real question here. And while I think the Broncos' secondary is too good, and I don't think Matt Ryan's going to be able to pass versus that. Um, so it's a matter of how well can they run the ball. Shelby Harris' loss actually is going to show here a lot, I think. Um, I want to see how good their run defense was last year. The Broncos were third here. At the least. Yeah, Broncos were 15th in rushing yards with Shelby Harris, while the Colts were 10th without Stephon Gilmore, which doesn't necessarily help for the run game, but it still matters because um what's it called? It forces them to run the ball more because, you know, hopefully the ideal thing is that Stephon Gilmore is not washed and he can still lock up guys. Also, Isaiah Rogers was also okay, I think, if I recall correctly. I don't remember for certain, but I think he was also okay. But you're really looking at Gilmore plus Kenny Moore, and apparently Brandon. I'm not trying to pronounce that. Um. So I think what's gonna happen is you're gonna have to rely on your run game, and I think I trust Jonathan Taylor behind a good O line much more than I trust Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon behind a below average O line. Um, I think the secondary play is going to be really good in this game. So you're going to have to rely on your run game a lot more. And, one team has a top three running back and one does not. Uh, one team has a top three running back behind a very good O line, and one simply does not have either one. So I think that's what's going to happen here. Um, Game two, Chargers versus Chiefs. Chiefs are my 3 seed, Chargers the 6 seed. I think the thing here is that it's kind of unfortunate for the Chargers because they tied, but they're third in their division still. They literally had the same record as the winner. It's just, tiebreaker shit. So, I don't know. But I think the situation here is that it's Mahomes in the playoffs versus Justin Herbert in his debut in the playoffs, which is something to think about. Is that Herbert has never been in a playoff atmosphere, and Mahomes has been numerous times, but this was tough. Cause okay, it's a matter of does how much does experience matter to you here? Is what's the question? Is how much does experience matter? Because if you're going based off experience, Mahomes has significantly more, but Chargers probably have the better team. Um, they probably have a better offense just because better weapons. Um, and just a better run game as well, probably. Well, there's no probably to it. I trust Austin Eckler a lot more than I trust Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I guess Ronald Jones too, because he'll probably have a part at like goal line. But um, uh, my thing here is that it's gonna be a very high scoring game, right? It's gonna be a high scoring game. Um, and I think the problem is the Chiefs defense isn't really prepared for those high scoring games. I don't think. Um, it wasn't really last year, though. I mean, it made it work, but it was more so the offense making it work. But that was also an offense with Tyreek. Kelsey is getting older by the year. Um, there also now again is no Tyreek, so you're gonna be able to. The thing with Tyreek is I don't think they need Tyreek to succeed, but I think in the playoff atmosphere, people are going to be guarding Kelsey a lot more because they know that's the X factor. Um, him and Mahomes. Uh, so I think that's something you gotta acknowledge is that in the playoffs, Kelsey's not gonna be as open. Like last time, like the reason the Chiefs made a 13-second comeback was simply because they had to cover Tyreek and Kelsey. Specifically, they had to cover deep because if Tyreek went deep, and he burns everyone, it's like damn, you should have been playing deep. So they played deep, and then they allowed Kelsey over the middle. So, but now they no longer have that. They don't have that Tyreek X factor that forces people to respect the deep ball quite as much. And I think that's something that's going to be shown specifically in this playoff game versus the Chargers, because the Chargers can still air the ball out, especially because like you also have to acknowledge that even if they do have a deep ball, a this is a this is the Chargers defense, which is probably worse than the Bills from last year, but there's still Derwin James over there. There's still um Asante Samuel Jr. There is still, who's their other cornerback? J.C. Jackson. There is still J.C. Jackson there. There are still a top-notch secondary. And that's going to be very hard to match in a high-scoring game because you gotta basically not fuck up once. And while your defense can't necessarily force Herbert to fuck up, theirs can. So I think it's a lot harder for the Chiefs to win this game. So I think I would have to take the Chargers here. Just because I think the Chargers can force one turnover, and that is all they have to do, because I don't believe in the Chiefs secondary to be able to force one turnover. And I trust the receivers a lot more from the Chargers. You have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and all the Chiefs have is Juju Smith-Schuster, who's a cool guy and a good at the game too, but I can't see it. I can't see it. I think the Chargers X factors here are a little bit too much for the Chiefs. Then we get the Bengals Miami. This one I don't think is gonna be. It's gonna be cool to watch, but I don't think it's gonna be really close. I think the Bengals pretty easily win this game. It's Tua, and while Tua is probably gonna have an above average year, he's gonna do enough to make it to the playoffs. But I don't think he's gonna do enough to actually, win a playoff game, especially versus the 2 seed Bengals. Like, you're not gonna be. So the problem is, even if Tua makes it to the playoffs, he's not gonna win the division. It's gonna be the Bills. The Bills are gonna win the division. So he's gonna have to play one of the better teams. He's gonna have to play a division winner. So whether that be out of the AFC West, who is a very much loaded AFC West, who you don't want to face any of those guys in the playoffs. The Raiders will even make the playoffs, and you still wouldn't want to face them in the playoffs. Whether it come out of the AFC North, who this very scary Ravens team, who really just got fucked over by the AFC being absolutely loaded this year, and just kind of losing their best receiver, or if it be your most favorable is probably being the 5 seed, but that means you have a better record than the other AFC West guys, and I don't see that happening. I think at best you're most likely a 6 or 7 seed, which means you're playing a 2 or 3 seed, which means you're most likely playing an AFC North, or you're playing an AFC West team, and I don't think they can match versus either one of those guys. So what I'm getting at is that I think the Bengals here are too good. I think the defense is going to be improved, and even if that Tua could play well versus a defense like that, I think that Jamar plus Boyd plus Higgins are all going to be too much. Um, I think the Miami defense is going to be well. I think it's going to play well. I can maybe force one turnover, but you got to rely on Tua not to turn the ball over one time, because Burrow is going to score a lot of points. He will. And you got to score more than him, because that's how that works. Um, and I just don't see it. I don't think Tua can score more points than Joe Burrow. That's all that it is. I just don't see it. Matchup's good, but I don't think it's that close. Then we get the NFC side. 49ers versus Packers. Damn good matchup to start. But realistically, I'll just go ahead and say it. I think 49ers win this, and I don't know if it's close. I think the 49ers are definitely a Super Bowl team, while I don't think the Packers are. And I think the Packers kind of, I think the 49ers got kind of fucked over by having the Rams as their in the division. But the Packers also are a pretty easy division. It depends if the Vikings can, steal the division away from them. Otherwise, I think this is almost a guaranteed matchup round one. The 49ers Packers matchup. I think this is almost a guaranteed matchup because I think that the 49ers are pretty much, unless they win the division, which probably means they have the one seed. Um, unless they win the division, then they're gonna be the 5 seed. Pretty much guaranteed. And the thing is, I think that the Eagles are a very easy regular season team. I think that the Rams are still going to be a top-notch team and still have more talent than the Packers. And I think it's the Bucks. It's the Bucks. That's really all I have to say. So I think the Packers are kind of stuck as the 4 seed, and I think the 49ers are either the 1 seed or the 5 seed. um, so yeah, I think this is almost a guaranteed matchup. So knowing this, it's a matter of, do I trust Trey Lance with a lot of talent or Aaron Rodgers with less talent? And naturally, I would want to say Aaron Rodgers with less talent because he's had that before and he's made it work. But, I mean, the 49ers have beaten them, what, 3 times in a row in the playoffs? He's 0-3 versus the 49ers in the playoffs, correct? I believe that's how that works, or how that is. Um, I think the 49ers just have a better team, really. Probably not a better run game, but it's a better, I don't know, bro. It's just better talent in terms of skill positions, Better tight end, better receivers, probably a better, it might not be a better O-line. It's probably a better O-line, though. But it's like, both these teams are really talented, and honestly, this could be a lower scoring game. Because ultimately, both these defenses are top notch, and both of them are going to be top 10 defenses. But I think the situation here is that it's going to be a more defensive game. But knowing that, you gotta rely on your run game a lot too. And I just think the 49ers with Debo plus God, I can never remember the 49ers running back guy. I always call him Elijah Mitchell. That is him, right? But I always get him and the Jets guy mixed up. That's Elijah Moore. Wait, no. Yeah. Elijah Mitchell is the 49ers running back. Okay. Um, you're going to be relying on Elijah Mitchell and Debo and Trey Lance as your run game versus not Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones and what's it called? And what's AJ Dillon. So it's a matter of who you trust more in the run game too. But you also got to realize that you also need receivers here because you're still going to be passing the ball. It's not like the Broncos Colts game, who there's gonna be a lot of running the ball, a lot of running the ball. What the fuck? I don't care about the fastest sexual healthcare on campus. Whatever. Um, it's not gonna be like that. They're still gonna be passing the ball, and obviously I would take Aaron Rodgers over Trey Lance passing the ball. But do I trust Aaron Rodgers with next to no wide receiver one, or the 49ers with Debo and Brandon Ayuk? Because honestly, I would take the 49ers with Brandon Ayuk and Debo, especially because I think their run game as a whole is better. The running backs purely are not better, but I think with Debo plus Elijah Mitchell plus Trey Lance, like, you gotta realize how hard it makes it having a mobile quarterback who will run the ball. That makes everything so hard because you always have to consider the quarterback. Like, obviously, versus like Mahomes, you gotta consider him running. He can run, but it's not like a part of his game like it is, Trey Lance and Lamar and Kyler and Hurts. It's not like that. They are rushing quarterbacks. There's a difference between a mobile quarterback and a running quarterback. It adds a whole different aspect that makes your run game so much better having a mobile quarterback. I mean, you think of the best running teams, right? You think of the Browns, who don't really have a great mobile quarterback. That's fine. You think of the 49ers this year. They didn't really have one last year, but you know That's okay. Um, you think of Lamar and the Ravens. You think like the top two rushing teams last year, the Ravens and the Eagles, both had the two most mobile quarterbacks in the league. You know, or the Bills too. The Bills too, top notch running game. And I promise you, it's not because they're. I promise you, their run game is not due in part to their running backs. Their running backs are dog shit, especially last year. Um, I promise you, it's not because their running backs why their run game was good. It was just because Josh Allen. Like that's a whole new thing that the Packers have to consider, especially with Trey Lance being developed now. It's just a whole other aspect that I think it's so hard to cover for. Um, so yeah, I think the 49ers get it done here. Then we get the Saints Bucks, which is a damn good matchup. Um, hmm, damn good matchup. Really interesting. Really interesting matchup. I also think this matchup's almost guaranteed. Like almost more guaranteed than the other matchup. Just because I think that whether it be the Saints or the Bucks, they're gonna be the 3 seed. Because I think the Eagles are not a guarantee at the 1 seed, but I think it's very easy for them to get the 1 seed. How about that? Um, I think it's either the 49ers or the Rams getting the 2 seed, and then the 3 seed being either the Bucks or the Saints. It's just a matter of who gets 13 wins or 12. It still gets it done because the Packers are 11-6. But so I think this is a pretty probable matchup as well. But um, I think this matchup is more intriguing than people want to talk about because the Saints have a lot of talent, like a lot. So I think I have to take the Bucks just because it's fucking Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, the guy from the Falcons that I never remember his name. Starts with an R. Who's actually the wide receiver 3 on the Bucks? Like, according to the depth chart. Is it Julio or Russell Gage? That's his name. Is it Julio or Russell Gage? It's Russell Gage. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, and Scotty Miller's fine 5. Not a good one, but a fine one. Not a good one at all, but a fine one. I don't know who Jalen Darden and Rashawn Pittman or whatever are. I don't know either one of those guys, but I think the biggest concern about this Bucks O line, or about this Bucks team, is specifically their O line. Um, but I don't think I'm too concerned about it, given that, like, while it's not bad O line, bro. It's a good O line. It got worse, but then they still got Shaq Mason out of it. So like, who did they lose on the line? I know they lost one guy. I don't remember his name. It was the guy on the Bengals. He went to the Bengals. I just forgot who his name is. Who he is. Alex Capo, right? Yeah, it was Alex Capo. Yeah. Anyway, they lost Alex Capo, but got Shaq Mason. So it's like, it got worse, but then it got better. Um, you obviously lost Gronk, which is a pretty big, pretty big, just period. Um, it's gonna be hurtful because you don't have that. You don't have Gronk to throw to, but you don't have anyone else. But you still have, and the next biggest problem is that I would assume he's the three, but uh, you don't have Leonard Fournette and what's it called? You don't have Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. What was that? I swear I heard something. Um, I don't know. Guess didn't. Um, you don't have both those guys now, and I think that's gonna be something you gotta, you know, it's gonna show a little bit. I don't think it's gonna be the biggest thing, but I think it's gonna be something that's worth noting. But ultimately, I cannot take Jameis Winston over Tom Brady. I think that's the biggest thing. I think this game is going to be very good, and I honestly can see the Saints winning it because I think the Saints are a more complete team. But I think the Bucks defense is going to keep Jameis in check. I think any shot the Saints want to win is that you got to pray that this Bucks defense is either A, injured, or B, just plays not quite as well as they really can. Um, but I think it's really hard for the Saints just because it's Tom Brady, bro. It's Tom Brady. Um, and you make one mistake and suddenly you're down 14. It's like really bad. Um, then in terms of the last game of the NFC, yeah, you get the Rams, Cowboys, both kind of mid, or both teams not mid, but they fell off definitely from last year. Both these teams got worse. It's just a matter of who's the better team now. And okay, this might be a hot take, but I'm thinking about it. This Rams O line is really bad now. Um, it could be potentially one of the worst O lines. I thought it'd be a below average one, but after week one, that week one game, it could be one of the worst O lines. Um, and Micah Parsons will farm that line. My only concern would be that you're gonna have a full season of Allen Robinson, and you're gonna have a full season of Van Jefferson being healthy again. You're always gonna be not necessarily good, but it's gonna be better just because they've had a full season under it. Let me pull up both. They're both their rosters. Oh, he's actually the one now. That's crazy. Um, like you look at this line, and it's like not good. I thought it'd be fine, but it's really not. But then you look at this defense, it's like, damn, this defense is loaded. Uh, Nick Scott was very promising. In that first game, Ernest Jones, Leonard Floyd, Aaron Donald, Sean Robinson. Like there's talent everywhere. Bobby Wagner. I mean, obviously got Jalen Ramsey too. Yeah, Troy Hill played pretty well. Like there's so much talent on this defense that I can't imagine the Cowboys being able to do it. But this line is bad, and Demarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons both exist. The problem is you're bringing a lot of breakout guys from guys that odds are that they could just not break out. Um, as simple as it gets. A lot of these guys could just not break out, and then suddenly this defense is not that good. Um, your quarterback too, Anthony Brown. I don't know how good this guy is. I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea. His stats are okay. I have no. That's a lot of passes deflected, though. I will say that. How many yards did this guy look up? Put up. Can I Google this? don't care. I don't know how good this guy is, just to be honest. But I think as long as you can manage Micah Parsons, which is not going to be easy, but as long as you can not allow him to go for like 6 billion sacks and shit like that, honestly, I think you're fine. Um, I don't think there's really a reason the Rams should lose this game. I think they got really lucky with facing them. I'm not certain this matchup's gonna happen, but um, I think it could be a Packers Rams matchup, or even a Packers Bucks matchup. But I think they got pretty lucky with facing the 7 seed, because I think if they're not facing a 7 seed, I think they genuinely lose to every one of those other teams. Uh, I think they lose to the Bill. I think they lose to the Bucks. I think they lose to the Saints. I think they lose to the 49ers. I think they lose to every one of the other NFC teams. So, hella lucky. Um, with bracket, but I mean, not really lucky. You played, enough to get the set 2 seed, so I guess you played well enough. But I think they lose to every one of these other teams, but because they got the Cowboys, who just also have glaring weaknesses. As long as your O line doesn't allow like 10 sacks, I think you're fine. Okay, I mean, ultimately, you still have Cooper Kupp. You have a full season of Allen Robinson. You have a full season of Van Jefferson. You're fine, I think. And that's if you don't get Odell. If you have Odell, then they're really fucked, honestly. Um. So yeah, look at the draft order. Just out of curiosity. I don't know. I don't care. I quit looking. Freak. I can't. Whatever. Oh my god, the screen's freezing again. Happens all the time. But yeah, I think that's it. I like these. I approve of these. Uh, on to the divisional round. You get the 2 seed Bengals versus the 4 seed Colts, the 1 seed Bills versus the 6 seed Chargers, the 3 seed Bucks versus the 2 seed Rams, and the 5 seed 49ers versus the 1 seed Philadelphia Eagles. Um, really interesting. I have my bracket in my head, but I'm going to explain them. I think. I mean, I haven't really thought about them yet, I guess, but um, Bengals Colts. I think the Colts barely scraped by last game versus the Broncos, and now they're facing a better team. Um, I think matchup wise, now it's suddenly hard because while the I think if they had Tim Patrick, honestly, that game's maybe even just in the Broncos' favor. Because I think if you had 3 good receivers, which is it's saying a lot, but I understand it's saying a lot, but still, um, I think then the Colts kind of struggle because they don't really have anyone like safety wise to keep them. Tim Patrick was that deep guy, and suddenly you don't have to really worry about that because, well, he's not there. um, and their safeties aren't really the greatest, so it would have been nice to have Tim Patrick, but nonetheless, um, now they have facing a team with 3 good receivers. So even if you can lock down Ja'Marr Chase, even if you can lock down both Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins, you still got to lock down Tyler Boyd, who's also a very good receiver. I think there's no way Matt Ryan can match this offense. It's really a matter of can Jonathan Taylor match this offense, and I'm not certain that I don't believe he can. I don't think so. I don't think Jonathan Taylor can quite match the offense here. I think it's a bit too hard for a running back to match a quarterback with 3 good receivers and a good O line, especially because you got to consider Mixon too. I just don't think the offense can be matched. I think the defense can play well enough and limit the Bengals to maybe 25, 30 points, and that's a good game by the way. Limiting the Bengals to that, yeah, I think that's a good game. But I just don't trust the Colts quite enough. I don't think the offense can quite match that the Bengals offense. I think it's a little bit too good. Um, then we get the Bills Chargers, the 1 seed versus the 6 seed. Here, good God, this is a good matchup. Um, my issue here is that My issue here is that the Bills last year had the number what offense? Because everyone just said it was the number one, but I thought the Cowboys had the number one offense. But we're gonna say the number one. I know it was the number one defense. I know that, but you had a team like that and you lost in the divisional. But that was also to the Chiefs. This is not the Chiefs. This is the Chargers. Um, who did beat the Chiefs though, which is something worth noting. But this is a different year. They now have Von Miller. They now have. That's really it. Actually, that's really all they added, I think. But that's enough. That's enough for me. Um, I think it's really tough here. I it's just that Josh Allen is so incredibly good. uh, but the Chargers defense is gonna not necessarily struggle, but I don't trust the Chargers pass rush quite enough. This is a very good Bills O line, and it's like even if you can get through the O line, Josh Allen is extremely mobile, so he would just roll out and either throw a dot 40 yards down the field still, or just run the ball. I think the O line can perform well. I think both O lines could, but that Bills pass rush also is so scary. And the Chargers don't have the greatest O line. It's a good O line, but it's not the greatest, which means this Bills pass rush is still going to be so incredibly scary, bro. It's so good. Um, and the secondary too is just as good. And so I think Herbert, just in terms of experience, his experience in the Bills Stadium, like I don't. His experience in playoffs versus no experience, plus being at home, plus just being the better quarterback, plus having a top, honestly, potentially top one defense. It's pretty hard. That's pretty hard. Um. Yep. So I don't think the Chargers go to the Super Bowl. I don't know why the Chargers are predicted to go to the Super Bowl by anybody. I just don't think they're that number one team. I think the Bills easily are. Just and this is before week one. I understand they just blew out the Rams, but I'm not really considering that. I just had them as this number one seed and Super Bowl favorite. Anyway, I was talking about that way when I first made the predictions. Um, but anyway, I think those are pretty easy. NFC. Um, here I think it's actually pretty intriguing, but I could just go ahead and tell both of these. I'll say this one first. I think the Bucks win. I think the Rams team has glaring weaknesses, while the Bucks don't necessarily. This defense is very good. This includes the pass rush. What's bad on this Rams team? The O line. Good God, it's so bad. um, I don't think it's gonna be anywhere. Like by the end of the season, it's gonna be not at the bottom, but it's gonna be below average at best. I think at best it's below average, and that's saying something. Um, like also like Ramsey kind of like he's good and can lock down one guy, but and like the thing is like the thing with the Rams is that their defense is very top notch, and like even their safety play is not that good though. Their cornerback play is pretty good. It's even the pretty deep at corner, but there's so many guys, bro. There's so many guys. There's Chris Godwin. There's Mike Evans. There's Russell Gage. There's Julio Jones. There's so many guys, bro. And I just don't know that anyone other than Jalen Ramsey could lock them up. Like all these guys could go to other teams and be the one, except like Julio. Russell Gage last year was the Falcons one. Chris Godwin would be the number one on like half the teams in the league. Mike Evans is the one, on a team with loaded receivers. And Julio could still go to like a couple teams and still be the one, probably. Probably not, but you get what I'm saying. Is that this team's very loaded at receiver. Um, the only concern would just be, and like the problem is the Rams pass rush also got worse, losing Von Miller, and they replaced him with Bobby Wagner. And Bobby Wagner could be a good tackler, but he's not really the greatest at rushing the passer. while Von Miller is very good at that. So I think they're gonna have to play a little bit different than they did last year, and I think it's gonna show. And I think the Bucks kind of solidly win this. Actually, I genuinely don't think this game's very close either. I think they. I don't know it's a blowout, but I think it's a two-score game, maybe even a three-score. Like I don't think this game's close. Um, I think the Rams have too many glaring weaknesses that are going to show in a playoff game of this caliber versus this caliber of team, and it's Tom Brady. But especially because you're gonna have to be accurate as Stafford, which has been a little bit of a problem. I like last season, it was a problem. I mean, he still won this, won the league, won the Super Bowl, but yeah, he led the league in interceptions doing it. So accuracy problems has been a thing. In the week one, he threw 3 interceptions, so even more of a thing. But nonetheless, I just think the Bucks get it done, and I don't think it's. I genuinely just don't think this game's very close either. Then the 5 seed 49ers versus the 1 seed Eagles. I was talking about this when I was doing the NFC East predictions. I think this Eagles team is very, very similar to the 2019 Ravens, where their regular season is dominant. 14-2. I had the Eagles going 14-3. Um, the thing was, the Eagles actually beat good teams. If I not the Eagles, the Saints. The Ravens actually beat good teams. Uh, and so did the Eagles in my world, but they also had a pretty damn easy schedule. I think the thing with this team is that their quarterback is young, and some of their defensive guys are kind of old. Um, I think the Super Bowl window for the Eagles are like a 2 year, like this year, next year, and maybe the next year. But I think it's this year and next year because Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, uh, even your cornerbacks, both of them, Slay and James Bradbury, both of them getting up in age. You have a lot of guys, like a lot of your big name guys, are getting older, and they're gonna retire within the next few years. So your window is very small. But I don't think this is your year. I think that you're only the number 1 seed because you had a pretty damn easy schedule. And no offense to the Eagles, but they had a pretty damn easy schedule. Um, and it's two young quarterbacks, two both young mobile quarterbacks, but I trust the coaching from the 49ers a lot more than I trust the Eagles coaching as well. I mean, I'm going to pick the 49ers, but I trust the coaching. I trust um the defense a lot more too. Well, I don't trust the defense a lot more. Like the thing is, your pieces may be old, but they're still very good. Um, like your big guys might be old. Who the fuck cares? Who cares? They're still elite at the position, so and I think they're gonna play fine. But I just think that the 49ers are too good, like everywhere. Um, and it's just like I, I can't I can't pick the Eagles here. Um, while I think they're a good team, I don't think they're good enough to beat the 49ers. I think the biggest thing here is gonna be the coaching. Um, I think it's gonna be hard. I mean, we saw how the Eagles got shut out, or not shut out, but they got destroyed last year. Which this is much different. Or it's not a much different team, but it's a different team. They have better receivers. They have better uh development. Hurts has developed another year. Um, they were a more dominant team, 14-3. A lot of things changed, but the difference is, well, the only thing that's not different is the 49ers still being incredibly good. um, yeah, I just think experience. It's a lot of experience too. I mean, yeah, that's just it. I think it's just an experience thing. Kyle Shanahan's been before. He's been in the playoffs before. He's been in the divisional round a ton of times, and he's going to the NFC Championship for like the 10 millionth time. Um, then we're going to the we're gonna go to the championships. is what I would like to say. Okay. Oh, I broke it. All right, conference championships. The 1 seed Bills, the 2 seed Bengals, and 3 seed Bucks, and the 5 seed 49ers. My thing's being very slow, so there we go. Fix, okay. Okay, last year, uh, Bengals went to the Super Bowl. Um, I don't think it's gonna happen again. I'm not gonna think about this matchup too much. I know both my picks. I'll just explain them. Um, I think here it's gonna be a situation of two electric offenses scoring for a lot of points, but what have the Bills been able to do? Force turnovers. And having an elite pass rush. Um, and while I think that basically it comes down to defensive things, it just comes down to defense. And the Bills' defense is so much better than the Bengals. It is like, the Bengals might have like a top half defense, while the Bills probably have a top 5 defense if they don't have their number 1 defense. Like it's very good. I think offensively, the Bills could also be better offensively, but even if they're not better offensively, um, which they might not be, I trust Burrow to be better offensively, just with the pieces. Jamar Chase, D Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, good O line. Yeah, I think your pieces there are probably better. Um, but I just think defensively wise, Bills are just so much better defensively. Um, and that's really it. Just the Bills are better defensively, and it's gonna matter. It's going to matter. Um, then we get the 49ers Bucks. This comes down to experience. Same way it did with the Eagles. It's gonna come down to experience. Except on the reverse side this time, it's Tom Brady. Hell, even Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have been here multiple times at this point. Julio's been here before. Um, the defense, most of these pieces have been here before. Um, even the coach, he was the defensive coordinator and been here before. Like, well, the 49ers also have for a lot of them. I think it's Tom Brady versus Trey Lance. You know, I think I think the people that have been here more than once. Um, speaking referring specifically to like Debo and Ayuk, which Ayuk has been here multiple times, right? I don't know how old I actually just don't know how long Ayuk's been here. I don't know, but speaking specifically about Trey Lance, is never being in the NFC Championship before, especially when he's the lower seed, so he's going to be in Tampa. Um, I think that really matters too. Um, yeah, it's just like it's gonna be hard for a year 2 Trey Lance to make it to the Super Bowl. Like year 2 guys do not make the Super Bowl very much. I mean, they have before and they have multiple times, but it doesn't happen that much. And generally, it's the big name guys that were supposed to make it. Trey Lance was supposed to be a development, and it's in year 2. He's developing. He's gonna develop well, but I don't think he's gonna develop so good that he makes the Super Bowl year 2. I think you gotta look at that year 3, year 4 range. Probably the year 3. Like, not this year, but I think next year the 49ers could make it quite easily, even. And it might be very dominant, assuming Trey Lance plays well this year and gets even better the next year. I think the 49ers could be very dominant next year. But this year, I don't think they're quite that dominant force. Um, I don't know. 49ers are good, but I think Tom Brady's experience pushes him over. Let's see how much time. We're at 1 hour. I think Tom Brady's experience um takes him over Trey Lance here. Trey Lance obviously develops well, but not well enough to make the Super Bowl in his second year. Um, it's just an experience thing. That's genuinely it. But then, but then we make the that's week 14. That is not the Super Bowl. There's the Super Bowl. The 1 seed Bills versus the 3 seed Bucks. Please let me go. This website's so slow. It's just this website specifically too. Um. I think I'll just say it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the what everyone else is saying. There's not a weakness on this Bills roster. Not like their quarterbacks top three. Their running backs are bad. Okay, their running backs are bad, but that's it. Their receivers pretty not necessarily the deepest, but they have good top receivers. Their O line good. Their defense is potentially top one. Like it's so good. This team is so good. And I think the only situation here that this goes awry is that Tom Brady's experience puts him over. But I think experience can only take you so far. I think, I mean, Stafford had, never won a playoff game before last year. And, you know, then he won the Super Bowl. So, like, his experience only matters so much. Um, and, like, the Bills, they're ultimately talent does override experience pretty quickly, even. Um, and I think that's definitely gonna matter here. The Bucks have a couple weaknesses that you gotta like acknowledge. Is that ultimately their run game is just from Leonard Fournette. It's just Leonard Fournette, and while he's pretty good, he's not. He's like just an average to above average running back. That run game with the Bills is still probably like on the top half, just because Allen specifically. Allen plus Devin Singletary, and you got guys like James Cook too. Um, you got what's that other guy? I don't remember. That's the big names though. Um, I think it's just really, really hard for the Bucks, who do have a couple weaknesses. Like the Bucks defense, it's gonna be like top five ish. Top 10 pretty much guaranteed, but probably top five ish. The Bills are better still. Their O line is gonna be in the upper half. The Bills, their O line's probably better than the Bucks, but like it's only gonna it's not gonna matter because Josh Allen is gonna make the O line look better, just because he's gonna roll out and never get pressured. Obviously, he's gonna get sacked multiple times, but it's just how that shit works. Um, Ultimately, it's like how Kyler makes the Cardinals O line look okay. It's really not. The Cardinals O line is pretty bad. It's just Kyler makes it look fine. It's the same shit with Josh Allen, except the Bills O line is actually just okay. But it's like the Cardinals O line is bad, but Kyler makes it look okay. The Bills O line's okay to above average, and Josh Allen makes it look good. How about that? Um, so like, and yeah, the Bucks have very good receivers, but like they had this. The Bills actually had the secondary to deal with that, and like no other team other than like the Saints have that, and the Saints lost to them. So it's just the Bills probably have the best secondary in the league, probably. Um, so it's like the X factor from the Bucks is like, oh yeah, we have an insane receiving room. Well, that only matters because now you're facing the best secondary in football. So here we are. You know, I think that's the problem is that you know their X factor is suddenly invalidated because they're facing the best secondary in football. Um, your running game is going to look really bad. While the Bills are going to work fine with their run game because Josh Allen makes their run game look really fucking good. Um, it's hard. It's gonna be a good matchup. I can't pick against the Bills, bro. Look at this team. It's so incredible, bro. It's just so loaded with talent everywhere. I can't pick against the Bills this year. I just can't do it. The team looks too good. It looks way too promising. Um, I think the Bucks going to the Super Bowl is kind of a hot take. I don't think many people have them going. I think a lot of them have the Rams, the 49ers. I've seen some Packers. I've seen some Bucks as well. I've seen some Bucks. But I even saw one Cowboys, which that's not happening, but go crazy, I guess. Um, yeah, it's gonna be a good matchup. This season's gonna be good. But yeah, that's my predictions for the entire season. My record predictions and my playoff predictions. Are they right? I don't know. I feel like they're right for the most part. I mean, I think a lot of things are roughly right. I think I don't think the Giants go 0 and 17. I cannot find where they're gonna win a game. I can't find it. But it's so hard to go. It's so hard to go winless, bro. So they're probably gonna win a game. I just can't pick it. I can't pick them to win one. It's shit like that, you know. I don't know. I don't know if I'll do weekly recaps every week. Probably not. I might do like every other week or some shit like that. I don't know. We'll see when we get there. If it's whatever I feel like uploading. So, um, as my record predictions, my Super Bowl prediction, my Super Bowl matchup is the Bills versus the Bucks, and the Bills win it. Um, I don't have any hot takes. My hot take is the Ravens don't make the playoffs. Yep, that's my hot take. I will see you guys. Like, probably Pokemon, actually. Pokemon Showdown. That's what's gonna be next, bro. It's a nerd, bro.